everybody, welcome to Scythe Universal. My name is Scythe, and today we are going to be discussing anything and everything Halloween Horror Nights. HHN 33 is very quickly approaching, and there's a lot to discuss about what has been announced, what is going to be announced, anything like theories, stuff like that. The best way I think that we can start is by asking, what is Halloween Horror Nights? I'm just gonna be giving a quick brief history on this. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. Halloween Horror Nights is an event that is put on every year by Universal Studios, both in Florida, in Hollywood, and now over in Singapore and Japan. The first Halloween Horror Nights ever started in 1991, and it only ran for 3 days. The first HHN event was held in Florida, and it only had one house. Tickets were also only $12.95. I really wish that we could go back to that price, and you'll find out why later. It ran yearly from 1991 to 2002, and then eventually they moved it over to Islands of Adventure. Of course, for anybody who goes now knows that it's not held there anymore. They did officially move it back to Universal Studios Florida. In 1997, they decided that if we're gonna do this in Florida, we might as well do it over in Hollywood. This went on from 97 to 2000, took a little hiatus, and then it came back in 2006. Eventually, Universal knew what they were doing, and they knew they had something good, so they figured why not launch it in other parks. Halloween Horror Nights launched in Singapore in 2011, and Japan soon followed in 2012. Side note, Japan's first year started with Resident Evil as one of their houses. I did try to read up a little bit on the house. I don't know if this happened the first year or a different year, but during one of the Resident Evil houses, it was based off of Resident Evil 2, and it had 2 different pathways that you could take, one for Leon and one for Claire. Now, I know it's never gonna happen here, but please, I want it. As mentioned before, this is a yearly event, so every year they decided that they wanted to upgrade. Seasons eventually got longer, more expensive, but also they were packed with more houses. And all of the hard work put in by everybody has now created what we now know as the Halloween Horror Nights currently. I'm going to share a little bit of my experience with going to Halloween Horror Nights, what I liked, what I didn't like, stuff like that. My first Halloween Horror Nights year was HHN 30, which everybody knows is an anniversary year. It was 30 years, 30 fears. They brought together all of their icons, and the main icon of that year, I would say, is Jack. Jack is my favorite icon out of all of the ones that I've seen. When I started going, I definitely didn't plan for it as well as I should have. I understood that it was going to be a busy event, I just didn't understand how busy. Horror Nights can get very packed, the lines are very long, way longer than any ride line has been. And unfortunately, I only got to do 3 houses. Those houses being Beetlejuice, Bride of Frankenstein Lives, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Out of those 3, I would definitely say that Bride of Frankenstein was probably my favorite. This was also during the time of the pandemic, so unfortunately a lot of the scares didn't impact me as well because you could definitely see the giant sheet of plastic where they were going to be. Other than that, Halloween Horror Nights became a thing that I just wanted to go to every year after. I enjoyed being scared. I enjoyed the amount of work and dedication were put into all the craftsmanship and all of the makeup going into it. Eventually, I did go for years 31 and 32. 31 was an upgrade year for me. From 30, I got to do 4 houses instead of 3. The houses I got to do during year 31 were going to include Dead Man's Pier, Winter's Wake, The Horrors of Blumhouse, including Black Phone and Freaky, Hellblock Horror, and lastly, Fiesta de Chupacabras. Out of those 4 houses, I think either Hellblock or Chupacabras was my least favorite, and the one that I did like the most was definitely Dead Man's. When Halloween Horror Nights 32 came around, I definitely wanted to be prepared this time. I bought myself a frequent fear pass, I'll explain what that is more later, and with this pass it meant I got to go on certain dates pretty much just to get in for free. But with this pass, I was able to do every single house that year. I do have a full house ranking of that year over on my TikTok, so you can go ahead and check out which ones are my favorites and least favorites. As a fun thing for this video, I thought it would be great to ask my friends maybe some of their opinions on the previous years and different houses. Here are some of their favorites and least favorites from previous years. First, I'm going to start with Noah's rankings for years 31 and 32. Next, I'm going to move right along to Aether's rankings from year 32. Jacob also gave me his rankings from years 30 to 32. Up at the top are going to be his favorites, and down here are going to be his least favorites. I also want to point out that sometimes Jacob is in some of my videos, and he's very funny, so definitely check those out. Over to the side, I'm also going to put Roman's rankings for all 3 years that I've mentioned. Now that we've covered a lot of previous stuff, let's move to the current season. Every year during the Horror Nights season, we have a lot of different content creators that come out with their own speculation maps. Usually the ones that all of us kind of gravitate to are the ones provided by HHN 365. Just to stay on topic, this is the one that I'm going to look at. These maps are basically made up of clues and theories that anybody may have about what is going to be coming, and then they progressively get updated as things get announced or new clues and stuff pop up. They're honestly really fun to keep track of. Now this is going to be the current version that we have so far. Most of the spaces are already filled in because we did get announced all of the original houses that are going to happen in Florida this year. The only thing left for us to do is figure out what exactly the scare zones are going to be and what the new nighttime show is going to look like. There are 2 houses left to be announced. Hey there. So this is Mara in editing. I've been editing this for about 4 days, and because I've decided to take so long, they did announce a new house coming to Orlando, and that is the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire house. So I'm gonna just cut out the part where I explain what the clue for that house is, because goddamn, we got it right. Thank you. These are both going to be IP houses or intellectual property, meaning that they're going to be based off of TV shows or movies. And for the lantern, a lot of people are suspecting that it's going to be this. Oh, not that, sorry. This. As much as me and my friends really wish that it would be the Wyatt 6, unfortunately a lot of people think it's going to be Insidious. I have not personally seen any of that franchise, so I wouldn't be able to tell you, but if you guess it right, good on you. There is also a spec map for Hollywood, but since I mainly focus on Florida, that's the only one I'm going to be discussing with much detail. I'll go ahead and lay the Hollywood one up anyway, just in case you live over there and you want to kind of see what's going on. Let's move on to the announcements. As mentioned previously, Florida has announced all of their original houses and 1 IP house. Starting with the 1 IP house, this is happening in both Florida and over in Hollywood. Our movie house is going to be based off of A Quiet Place and that franchise. We're not exactly sure what movie it's going to cover, if it's going to cover one single movie or if it's going to cover all 3 of them. All I know that this one I'm a little bit skeptical about. The whole point of A Quiet Place being scary is that you have to be quiet, and let's face it, that's not happening at Horror Nights. Although I did hear that they are incorporating some new audio technology, and a lot of the actors are going to be well known with ASL. I trust that they will be able to do something nice with this, but truly you won't be able to give it a ranking of your own until you go through it. Moving on to the original houses, we're going to start with Triplets of Terror. This one, a lot of people are very confused about and kind of not happy with. Basically, a quick description of this is that you're going through a birthday party for Barry, I think his name is, and you're pretty much just watching them recreate their family's kills, like their murders. A lot of people think that this is a replacement house for something that could have been, but really we'll never know. Next for our original houses is going to be Major Sweets Candy Factory. This started as a scare zone. I forget what year, but I remember walking through the scare zone and thinking it was very well designed. I'm glad that it's being upgraded into a house this year, and I have a lot of hope in this because I just know that they can turn it into something great. Basically, the company, like the mayor, Major Sweets, has been giving candy out to kids, but for some reason the candy is turning these kids into murderous little shits. Simple and cute, but I know that it's gonna be great. Our next original house is going to be Goblin's Feast. This is a very fantasy type house, think D&D if you will. A lot of people also think that it's branching off of the house that we had last year based on the dragons. Dueling Dragons house itself was based off of the Dueling Dragons roller coaster that used to be over where Hagrid sits now. If it is connected, I think that'll be really freaking cool. If not, I'm sure I'll still enjoy it anyway. Next up is going to be the Museum Deadly Exhibits. Not a lot to go off on this one. Feels like it's gonna be kind of like middle ground house. They do have a lot of room to work with though. Spooky artifacts, history, stuff like that. History itself is already scary enough, so I'm sure that they can find something to stick with for it. The second to last original house is Slaughter Cinema 2. This is a sequel house to the original house, Slaughter Cinema, which appeared in HHN 28. While I did not go that year, the best way I can describe it to you is that you're walking through a few fake movies, like, that have been designed for the house. A lot of people were excited to get this. This was also the first house that was announced for Florida this year. Our last original house for Florida is going to be Monstros. This is going to be based off of the monsters of Latin America. This was previously over in Hollywood. I don't know what year, but I do find it interesting that while we're getting the first Monstros, Hollywood is getting Monstros 2. I've seen some of the folklore regarding all of monsters of Latin America, and I feel like that they can do well with this. Again, can't really say anything until Halloween Horror Nights comes out and I actually go through the house. Next, we're going to cover Hollywood's house announcements. There have only been 3, and I did just mention one of them. The other 2 are actually going to be A Quiet Place, which I already mentioned whenever I noticed that it was happening in Orlando as well. And then the only other house announcement that we have so far is going to be Dead Exposure Death Valley. I don't know much about Hollywood's Halloween Horror Nights, but everybody seems to be saying that Dead Exposure is another house that used to have predecessors. They also feel that the only reason that this is going to be a house is because Hollywood is unfortunately not getting what they call the Toxic Tunnel. I'm sure I'll enjoy watching the POV videos online though. Next up is merchandise. Every year for Halloween Horror Nights, the HHN team comes up with a bunch of new merchandise to sell. Some of them have really cool designs, other ones people aren't really fans of. The 2 main places that you're going to find this merchandise in Universal Orlando is going to be the Five and Dime over in Universal Studios and the Monster Hideaway over in Islands of Adventure. Usually in both places you're going to find the same merchandise, so you don't really need to go to both of them. For this video, I did venture over to Islands of Adventure to go into the Monster Hideaway store so I can get cool videos of just like anything that they have right now regarding the season. I saw some really cool coasters. They have some really good material cups. They keep coming out with different designs for shirts. I actually am wearing one of them right now. I think this is going to be my favorite design so far this year. They did just come out with another one that I have yet to pick up, but it's kind of tying with this one for me, the design. They do also release merchandise for their IP houses. Right now, the only one that is out is A Quiet Place, and that shirt really isn't good looking. As more houses come out to be announced, they will start adding more merchandise. But if you don't buy anything specifically Halloween Horror Nights, they do have some other fun stuff as far as just normal outfits like skirts that look kind of Halloween themed. You'll find different like hot sauces and coffees and headbands. I actually just got this headband at the store whenever I went to go film a bunch of stuff. They also will have a bunch of light-up headbands that people will wear during Horror Nights. I actually have a pair sitting behind the camera, too. I just don't feel like grabbing them right now. As far as merchandise, that's pretty much all that we have now. Like I said, they'll add more during more house announcements and as it gets closer to the season. And then by the time that the season is come and gone, you'll usually find a lot of those stuff on sale, which is when I like to pick stuff up. That basically covers it for merchandise, so let's move on to tickets. Remember how I said that tickets used to be $12.95 starting the first year? Well, we're definitely in a new age because they just went up again this year. So if you want a single night ticket, it depends on what day you go, but this year they're going to start at the lower price of $82.99 per person. That's for one night. The event usually lasts from 6:30 to 2 a.m. It does not include anything special, so no fast passes, nothing like that. This is your baseline ticket for one night, for one person. Something new that they did introduce this year is a premium Scream Night ticket. This one caught me off guard a little bit. So premium Scream Night is something brand new. I've never heard of it before. This is one night out of the entire season. It's going to be August 29th. For this night, it's basically lower crowds. It's kind of one of those events where, you know, you're paying more to go and be able to do more things without having to deal with longer lines. It's limited ticket sales as well. As far as the ticket prices, though, these ticket prices start at $350 per person. The first time I read that, I didn't think I read it right. Pass holders can get a discount on this, but from looking at other people researching it, it seems like it only gets you down to $320. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not paying $320 to go for one night just for it to be smaller crowds, as they claim. I will get my frequent fear pass, and I will find a day where I know that people are either going to be working or they don't feel like they want to go to Horror Nights. Not to mention, as it gets closer to 2 a.m., you'll notice that house weights will definitely start dropping. Last time that I was there, I went on a Saturday, and I caught the last 2 houses that I needed to do that night at 10-minute waits each. It also just goes to show that staying all night is definitely worth it. You will get a lot more done once it starts getting closer to the end. Alongside your single night and premium night tickets, they do also sell express passes. Now, these express passes only work once for each house. You cannot use them again on the same house once you've already been through it. And these express passes start at $139.99 per person. I do know a lot of people that do get the express passes. If you want to pay that much, go for it. If not, I'm sure that you'll be able to find ways to get everything you want done. The only other thing regarding tickets right now on the website is hotel packages. Universal does offer different things if you book hotel stays with them. I read somewhere this year that they're giving hotel guests like a special entrance, so I don't know if they go in at the same time as anybody, but if you are going to stay at a Universal hotel, I believe it's a select hotel, you will be able to get a special entrance this season. That covers the ticket portion, but Universal also does offer tours. During the Everyday Year season, they'll be called VIP tours, but during Halloween Horror Nights, they change them to RIP tours. There are 3 different tours that you can do for Halloween Horror Nights. The first one is going to be the general RIP tour. These tours are going to start at $360 per person. You can have up to a group of 6 people in this group, but the only downside to it is that if you do the general RIP tour, your group is going to be meshed with other groups of people. If you don't mind that, that's cool. Do your thing. If you want something more private for your group, though, or you have a group of 7 people, you have to get the private RIP tour. This is exactly what it is described to be. It's a private tour for you and your group. These prices, however, are not listed on the website. You do have to call Universal to schedule a time. About these tours, I haven't been on them personally, but I have seen a lot of different tour guides and like groups go around during the season. You do get a special entrance into all of the houses, so they basically guide you into, you don't have to wait in line. You can just go right in. You get to experience every single house, every single scare zone. You also get a special place to wait, a little lounge area. If you have the money, I'm definitely sure that it's worth it. Hopefully I'll get to go on one day. The last tour that Universal is going to offer is the Behind the Screams tour. This is going to be a daytime tour through the houses where nobody is there actually scaring you. Pretty much people only go on this so that they can walk through it and admire everything, the creativity that has been put into the houses. And I believe that they also tell you like fun facts about them too. These tours are going to start at $99. Halloween Horror Nights 33 is going to last from the end of August to the beginning of November, the longest season that I think Orlando has ever had. And I certainly cannot wait for this to come up. Halloween Horror Nights is an amazing event, and if you get the chance to go, if you get the chance to bring somebody along who definitely doesn't want to go, just to see their reaction, it's great. That pretty much covers everything that we have so far. I do cover Halloween Horror Nights to a decent degree. Most of that is going to be over on my TikTok and sometimes on YouTube Shorts. You can also check out any quick announcements that pop up randomly over on my Instagram as well. As the season goes on, I'll be sure to keep up with any more announcements. That pretty much does it for this video. If you happen to see me at Horror Nights, please stop and say hi. I'd love to talk. Go ahead and check out my previous and first video on this channel about the different rides in Universal Studios Florida. Hit the like button if you like this, and don't forget to subscribe and follow for more Universal and Disney stuff. Just remember, never go alone.